What up, y'all? It's the homie Dame, and if there's one thing I love more than harem anime, it's nothing. There's nothing I love more than harem anime. What's there not to love about dumb, fun, trashy anime and manga about lame dudes who somehow pull more cartoon tail than any reasonable person would know what to do with? And listen, many discussions have been had over the best and worst harem anime, which show has the best girls, which one has the best ending, and which one has the best cringy hot spring scene. But I'm not gonna be talking about any of that today. I just want to talk about the centerpiece of all these harem shows, the harem protagonist, aka the recipient of all of this exaggerated female affection. This video is going to be a tier list ranking as many harem protagonists as I can or can care to remember, based on the following criteria. How much I like them, I guess. I don't know. The ranking is arbitrary, let's just get to it. First on the list is the protagonist of the quintessential quintuplet, Futaro Uesugi. Now, Futaro is basically what the youngins would call a sigma male. He's really just about being on his academic grind, getting that bread, right? The thing is, like many of us in real life, there's one thing that gets between someone and getting that bread, and that's big titty anime girls. Futaro is great because he's a lot more composed and stoic than your average harem protagonist. He isn't easily flustered, he isn't afraid to be blunt and real, and he's actually a really capable dude who you could, see girls actually finding attractive. I really liked Futaro when I was reading the quintessential quintuplet, so I'm gonna put him in A tier. Next, we have a completely different character from a series that's totally different from the quintessential quintuplets. Yuiga Naruyuki from We Never Learn. But really, We Never Learn and the quintessential quintuplets are very similar harem stories, and by very similar, I mean it's the same shit. They're both about some geek who has to tutor a bunch of hot girls, and surprise, surprise, there's love in the air. I also think they both came out around the same year. Now, I'm not here to compare the two, at least in this video. Here we're just talking about Yuiga. The way I see it, Yuiga is more similar to the typical harem protagonist that you might picture in your head. He's dense, he gets all blushy when the girl so much as breathe near him, and his shining moral quality is he's a nice guy. Now, let me say, none of this is a bad thing, but it also puts Yuiga a small step below Futaro, at least in my opinion. You guys know this is all my opinion, right? I'm gonna say Yuiga is B tier. The next protagonist is someone who, if you started watching anime between the years 2010 and 2013, might have been your first experience with an anime protagonist. And if that's the case, let me know in the comments how your life is going, because I'm curious. I'm talking about Issei Hyodo from High School DxD. High School DxD, if you don't know, is very similar to the popular Netflix series The Queen's Gambit. Because, they're both about chess.
Devils with titles of nobility grant the characteristics of these pieces to each one of their servants.
The only difference is High School DxD is also about chess. Okay, but talking about Issei, the thing about him is he's someone whose defining characteristic when he's introduced is the fact that he's like a mega pervert. Actually, his starting motivation is literally that he wants to be a harem king, which, same, I guess. What a relatable guy. Look, Issei is a fucking creep, and not in the way that your average anime dude is. The guy doesn't come across as likable, at least for me, so it makes it uncomfortable whenever he does the creepy pervert stuff. Now, I understand that these are very standard and even desirable traits for a harem protagonist, but I don't give a fuck. I don't like Issei, and this is my list, so F tier. Next, we have our only female protagonist from this list, Toru Honda from Fruits Basket. If you haven't read or watched Fruits Basket, basically what happens is the main character, Toru, hugs a bunch of cute boys and they turn into zodiac animals, which, damn, that's what y'all ladies be fantasizing about, huh? Y'all wanna hug Harry Styles and have him turn into a tortoise or something, huh? Toru is such a sweet character. She's wholesome, she's supportive, and she's as self-sacrificing as any other simping MC. And, she's voiced by Yui Horii in the 2001 release too. As far as harem protagonists go, she's obviously not as sleazy as others, but she still gets herself a good selection of hottie McDottie anime boys, which is all we can really ask for, so let me put her in S tier. Next we got Ichika Orimura from Infinite Stratos, and listen, Infinite Stratos isn't that good. You might even say it's trash, but if Infinite Stratos is trash, then call me Fuck. Who likes trash? Oscar the Grouch, I guess. Call me Oscar the Grouch. Yeah, the show sucks, but it hits all the harem sweet spots well, and as its protagonist, Ichika serves well enough as, your standard self-insert. You can rejoice, weebs, as it's easy as ever to imagine yourself in his place, living the life, with your multinational harem. Basically I'm saying he's okay, I guess. C tier. For the next MC, let's do a recent one. Did y'all watch Kanojo mo Kanojo? You don't need to, it fucking sucks. And the protagonist, Naoya, is cool, I guess, C tier. Instead, you should read the infinitely superior 100 Kanojo because its protagonist, Rentaro Aijo, is probably one of the best ones on this list. 100 Kanojo is basically a parody slash satire of the harem genre, and what makes it so clever and hilarious is that it recognizes that it's a dumbass concept to have one dude with multiple girlfriends, and it instead just recognizes how ridiculous this is and plays into it with piles and piles of fourth wall breaking meta jokes. But talking about the main man Rentaro himself, this is one of the rare cases where the harem MC is just as entertaining, if not more entertaining than the girls. You could start this series for the great female designs only to realize like 20 chapters in that you've gotten the most laughs from Rentaro being like the biggest Giga Chad since The Situation. Jersey Shore isn't relevant anymore. No one is gonna get that joke. Rentaro was S tier. Next, we got everyone's favorite series to hate on every week, only to come back the next week to make the same exact complaints. It's Rent-A-Girlfriend with its protagonist, Kazuya Kinoshita. Real talk though, if you guys want a good laugh, you should visit the Rent-A-Girlfriend subreddit and look at the cesspool of self-loathing memes on there. It's a pretty good time. Listen, I know Kazuya is a popular punching bag as far as MCs go. Everyone loves to talk about how shitty he is. Oh, he's a simp. Oh, he's an incel. Oh, he's a cuck. He's the worst MC of all time. And look, he does suck, but not for the reasons you may think. I don't care that he's spineless, that's an established part of his character. I don't care that he goes full simp and spends all his money on the equally shitty Chizuru, that's kind of the point of the series. I don't even care that he has these weirdo cuck fantasies, heartbroken people do shit like that. No, the reason why Kazuya and Rent-A-Girlfriend as a whole suck is because of the technical aspects, not the content. Kazuya is just poorly written, right? He makes baffling decisions and is inconsistent with his actions. That's why he sucks. It's, technical writing stuff. But hey, this isn't a writing class. We don't give a fuck about, an honors English 101 explanation of the technical aspects of Rent-A-Girlfriend. It's a harem, right? So is Kazuya a good harem protagonist? Not really either. But that's not really his fault either, since every girl in the series sucks, besides Mami, who is a pure innocent angel who never did anything wrong to anyone ever and is unironically the best girl in the series. I'm gonna put Kazuya in D tier. Next, we got Rito Yuki from To Love Ru. Now, if you are new to the channel, I'm gonna let you know right now that To Love Ru is my favorite manga of all time, by far. Second place doesn't even come close. It has a special place in my heart, and I find it endlessly entertaining to read, and I'm not joking when I say I had more fun reading To Love Ru than any of the other 12 million manga that I've read. The anime is whatever, but hey, nothing's perfect, right? With that being said, Rito is not the reason To Love Ru is my favorite series. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. As far as harem protagonists go, he's about as inoffensive as it gets. There's no real reason to hate him, but there's not a lot to like about him either. Again, like most harems, you're here for the girls, not the bozo MC. The thing about Rito is at least he does what he needs to do to be likable from a writing standpoint. He's a horny ass dude, but he doesn't come across as like, holy shit, call the cops on this pervert right now. He's a nice guy, but he also doesn't come across as too much of a wet doormat. He's advertised as your average high school kid, and that's exactly how he comes across, and exactly how he needs to be for the story to work. So, surprise, surprise, he goes into the average tier, C. Next we got Natsuo Fuji from Domestic Girlfriend, aka my favorite anime to watch during family movie nights, second only to Kiss Sis. See, Natsuo is just your average everyday dude, no different from any of us. He sees a hot girl, he wants to engage in sexual intercourse with her. And when said girl later becomes his stepsister, it gets even hotter, right? You all relate to that, right? It's not just me. As far as a harem protagonist goes, Natsuo is definitely one of the better ones in my opinion. He has his own personality, and he has things like goals and aspirations, like normal people do. But unlike normal people, he can't keep his dick out of his sisters, so B tier. Next is Keima Katsuragi from The World Only God Knows. And listen, y'all, Keima is a special entry on this list because he's someone who's only interested in 2D girls, which, you know, I'm sure none of you can relate to. I mean, who the fuck would be interested in fictional cartoon women? Imagine being such a huge, embarrassing loser, am I right? I'm not gonna lie, I hated Keima when I first watched The World Only God Knows because I know someone in real life who uses his type of brute force, if I do enough nice things for a girl and show up in her life enough, she'll fall in love with me, you know, that type of mentality. And of course, that's horribly embarrassing and creepy in real life, but in the context of a fun Japanese cartoon, it kind of works. That's really what makes Keima great, you know, his methodical approach to pulling girls makes him the light Yagami of harem protagonists, and, you know, while that kind of person would be a nightmare to be around in real life, it's an anime, so the end result is a super fun character to watch, so I'm gonna put him in A tier. Alright, now we're gonna end this video on a banger, cause this last character is my personal favorite on this list. I'm talking about Kyomi Araragi from the Monogatari series. So I'll say this first off, Monogatari is not a harem series in the same way some of the other entries on this list are, and Araragi is not a harem protagonist in the same way that these other characters are. The Monogatari series is, at its core, a story about Koyomi Araragi and his youth, right? His experiences in his last year of high school. It just so happens that these final months of his adolescence involve him getting endless amount of coochie from various girls with various supernatural afflictions who may or may not be legal. Araragi's a pedophile. I'm not even gonna front. Thank God it's just fiction, right? But the thing about Araragi that's so great to me, and again, spoiler warning, I'm giving this spoiler warning at the end of the video, so sorry if you got spoiled on other entries. Alright, but the thing about Araragi that makes him so great is that he takes the trope of, oh, an anime protagonist's defining trait is that he's a nice guy, and he'll always go out of his way to help someone, especially if they're a hot girl. He takes that trait and pushes it to its extreme, to the point where the show describes Araragi as having a savior complex, you know? He is literally Captain Save-A-Ho. And it's this complex that creates some of the dark forces that cause conflict in the series, you know? I'm a really big fan of that kind of series-encompassing plot thread, and that's what makes him so interesting. Besides all that, Araragi is fun because of his wit, his ability to straight man off of some of the more eccentric girls in the show. He's competent, he's built like a hot K-pop star, so it's actually believable that all these girls would fall in love with him, and he cares very deeply about his sister's oral hygiene, which, you know, how sweet. But yeah, Araragi is the GOAT harem protagonist in my opinion. Sure, I might be biased because Monogatari is one of my favorite animes of all time. And yeah, I know there were a lot of harem MCs and harem shows that I didn't include on this list. Shout out to, like, you know, Date Alive or, I don't know, School Days, I guess. You guys can debate in the comments about those shows not included, and, you know, let me know who your favorite harem MC is. Also, make sure to like and subscribe for that sweet, sweet anime and manga content, and donate to Patreon for early access to videos, and that's the video piece.